What you doing, Christian? What's up, guys? Garcia88 here, checking in. What I'm gonna be knocking out on this bike today, tomorrow, hopefully the next day or two, is I want to raise the ride height slightly on this bike. So this is a 2022 Lowrider S. So from what I understand is that these shocks are about 0.98 inches taller than the 2020 to 2021 Lowrider S. So they did increase ground clearance slightly in the back on these guys. So I want to basically just give myself a little bit more, and I'm gonna kind of cheap out this route. I'm actually gonna be going with just a block. Basically you take out the rear shock, and it's just this little piece that screws into the end of the shock. It replaces the eyelet that just gives the shock a little bit extra clearance. It gives it extra more ground clearance. It's not going to really add any performance with the shock itself, but it will hopefully give me a little bit more performance when it comes to just a little bit of different geometry, a little bit higher. The kit that I got is about 1 inch and 1/4 taller. And then what I'm going to do for the front is I'm going to drop the forks. I got about, I want to say about a little more than a 1/2 inch that I can drop the forks, so I can raise the front end just a little bit. And then I'm going to put the little shims just to kind of hopefully give me a little bit more clearance up front to match. So first step is we got to get the shock out, and then what we got to do is we actually have to compress that shock, and then that's going to basically show us the threads, or the nut I should say, to get the shock eyelet off. I ended up going with the TCMT one. It was literally only 50 bucks. The reason why I kind of cheaped out a little bit is that I'm probably gonna eventually upgrade my rear shock. I'm thinking to an RWD, or maybe even an Olin's or a Legend. I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. And it's almost like, you know, let me just at least get the ride height, see where I like it first, and then kind of go with there if I want to play with the suspension. So far from what I need, I don't really go too up often, but basically from what I do, my typically daily riding, this shock is actually pretty damn good. And that was kind of the reason why I said, hey, is it really worth spending $1,000 for a shock when I can spend 50 bucks, get myself a little bit higher height? Well, take it back. I had to spend more than 50 bucks. I had to spend 150 because I had to buy the tool that compressed the shock, which is 100 bucks. Now I could have went and rented one at O'Reilly's. Those are kind of like not designed for these kind of shocks, and I didn't really want to mess with that and try to hold it while, you know. So I just bought one, and I figured if anyone else needs to use it, any of my friends or anybody who wants to lower or lift their bike, it's good for any M8 shock. So let me know if you want to use it. First thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna just remove this little cross member thing right here. That basically is just gonna let us get access to the shock right there. Actually, first thing I did was I took the seat off. If you don't know how to take the seat off, stop installing right now and take it directly to your nearest motorcycle shop. Take the seat off first, and then let's get these bad boys off right here. All right, and once you have all that off, I should have actually took this off first, but you got to take off this little shock reservoir. So that basically holds the fluid to your shock, and it's also where you can do some adjusting. Do not take this one off. Sorry, that one. Do not take that one off. That will leak your fluid out. So do not remove that, just remove this. All right, 3 bolts, it's out, pretty straightforward. And then I also disconnected this bad boy, and you're gonna have to slide this out once you get the shock out. All right, next thing you gotta do is get the rear end lifted off the ground. So it doesn't have to be crazy high. Just keep in mind you're only lifting the bike 1.5 inches or so, so that's plenty. And it's literally just resting on that, and it's not going nowhere. Just be careful, don't drop the bike. You should strap it down, but I'm just gonna do this for now. Fuck it. I got crash bars on it, I guess. if it tips over. All right, now we're basically going to remove the shock. Remove where the shock is mounted. So we're just gonna loosen this one now. Not gonna fully take it out yet. We're just gonna crack that one open. All right, now that the top is loose, we just gotta get down in there and loosen that Allen key right there. Just loosen it, you don't gotta remove it. And then we gotta take out the side bolt here, which is way down inside there. See it? That's gonna take the lower shock off. And then once again, bike is off the ground. So we are clear, no tension on the spring. And then we can basically start removing it. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the whole thing after I do that. So it's like that one, that one, that one. Let's get it. All right, just like that, the shock is out. There she is. Honestly, it was pretty easy except this little freaking pinch bolt right here. It was a pain in the ass to get a wrench in. But once you loosen it all the ways you can, it basically pinches the frame right here. And it was keeping my shock stuck. So I had to back it out a little bit more. Once I backed it out, the shock popped right out. So, but now that I removed the shock, the back tire dropped and I'm starting to get a gap there. I don't know exactly how much this gap is gonna be. We'll see once I put the spacer on there. But right there, it's pretty jacked up. That's a pretty big gap right there. So I don't think it's gonna be that big, but we'll see. Next step is to compress the shock. Compress the shock. And then basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna be replacing this. We're gonna be putting a taller one of these here. And that's basically gonna give you the bigger ride height. But you can't get to the nut because the tool right here, press it. It's designed specifically for the M8 shock. So I'll figure out how to use that in a sec. All right, guys, a little update where I'm at. So this is the shock tool I was mentioning. Basically, it's 3 plates, these 3 rods, nut, and some spacers. And basically all it does is it sits on the top of this guy. Once you put the top of the shock in here, you just basically start to cinch it down. And then what it does is it compresses the shock, and then it's gonna reveal this nut bolt, or this lock nut right here. So this one, I already busted this one loose, but it was pretty tight, so I struggled with it quite a bit last night. And basically I had to bust that loose, and then I was able to get this thing off with put an extension in there and busted it free. So that's that. Now I'm just gonna show you real quick while I got you here. The new one just came in today, and that's kind of the height difference. So I'm just gonna put them side by side. So that's stock, and this is basically what it's gonna lift the bike. So I'm gonna find out if this is gonna fit. This might not even fit because I have the 2022 FXLRS, and 2022s already have a 13-inch shock. And from what I've been reading is that there's only so much you can go before it starts hitting the bump stops. And it might get to a point where once I screw this on there, it might not even actually be able to reach the mounting holes. So we'll see. I should have done my research before I ordered this. This is, the description says 1 1/4 inch. Now I don't know if they mean that this is 1 1/4 inch bigger this way, or is it going to lift the bike 1 1/4 inch? I don't quite understand the difference there. Now this is, once again, this is a knockoff one. It was $50. Looks to be built pretty solid. Bearing feels good. The reason why I cheaped out is that I'm most likely going to be doing a different shock in this bike eventually anyways. So we'll see. But let's go ahead and get it back together and see if I can actually get it mounted. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little Loctite on there. I'm going to thread that all the way down. I'm going to basically button up the lock nut all the way up top to it, and then put this little spacer inside and then try to get it mounted back on the bike. All right guys, this is what we're looking like as far as height goes. As you can see, shock is now decompressed after I removed it from the tool, and then it's got this longer piece here. So we'll see if this is gonna fit. Crossing my fingers. If not, I might have to go buy a different one. It's slightly smaller, or just bite the bullet and go buy a shock that's gonna fit perfectly in there, because this might be just a little bit too long, but we'll see. Alrighty, so it fit. I got it all up in there. Let's see if you can see it right there. So there's the extension there. It's right there. So we'll see how it rides, how it feels. But everything's all buttoned back up, tightened up this one, use a little dab of Loctite, bottom Loctite, put the reservoir back on, bolted that here, bolted this little cross member thing on there. You can definitely tell the bike is leaning more than typical when it's on a kickstand. I don't think it's anything crazy though, you think? You definitely see a bigger gap from the back. I'm gonna take a bag off so I can kind of get a look at the side profile with the lean. All right, well, let's get the seat back on and let me sit on it, see how it feels.